mention something, Mr. Speaker, that this is conduct and becoming on the part of the two cabinet secretaries, Mr. Speaker. Appearance before Parliament is not a privilege. It's not something that you joke about with. While I appreciate that perhaps CS Nakumincha and CS Alfred Mutua have never served in Parliament and therefore maybe are struggling to understand the importance and the standing of this House, Mr. Speaker, what they have done this morning is grossly out of order. And they must be told so in no unequal terms, Mr. Speaker. You cannot write to an institution barely a few hours before they are sitting to inform them of a travel, I don't know to which part of the world, traveling to whatever part of the country, accompanying whoever, including the President, Mr. Speaker, is not the business of this House. What we have in this House, Mr. Speaker, is business that has been brought by the people of Kenya through their representatives. We are not calling the two CSs, Mr. Speaker, to engage them in idle talk. These are issues that the representatives of the people feel need to be answered, Mr. Speaker. And many of these questions, you know, Mr. Speaker, have been on the order paper for quite a while. I would certainly want to believe, Mr. Speaker, that Nakumincha and Alfred Mutua did not just realize last night that they were traveling out of the country and they are supposed to appear before their Senate. They knew this for weeks. What was so difficult in doing, as Mr. Speaker, you will recall, because you and I serve in SBC, and many of the members that are in Senate Business Committee know that there are CSS that wrote early in advance and said, please readjust my appearance because for one reason or the other. And we had such cabinet secretaries, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, I think we received a letter from the CS from Labour who informed us in good time, and therefore, as a House, we were able to plan and reschedule their appearance. But to write to this House, Mr. Speaker, barely 12 hours before our sitting to tell us that you're not appearing because you're globetrotting, Mr. Speaker, that cannot be taken kindly, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, even as you direct the Secretariat, Mr. Speaker, to write to these two CSs, you must express the displeasure of this House to them, Mr. Speaker. This is totally unacceptable. It needs to be firm. It needs to be decisive. They need to be put in the know, Mr. Speaker, to know that this House did not take kind to their appearance. In fact, on the day that they eventually appear here, Mr. Speaker, they should certainly not be allowed to answer any question before they first apologize to this House, Mr. Speaker, for wasting our time, Mr. Speaker. This is not proper, and this is not what is expected of a cabinet secretary who's serving in this administration, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, from the floor of this House, we want to tell CS Nakumincha, CS Alfred Mutua, that you are grossly out of order. Behave yourselves properly next time. Write to Parliament in good time, because Parliament does not work out of idleness, Mr. Speaker. These are issues that we say or we present before this House on behalf of the people that send members to this House, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I would like to join the leader of the majority in registering our disapproval and disappointment of this unbecoming behavior. Mr. Speaker, there is the Powers and Privileges Act, which allows a minister to fail to honor this kind of invitation. And the condition is very clear that it is only with the leave of the President. So because the Minister for Labor remembered that, she informed it at House Business Committee, which was quite okay. We don't care that Alfred Mutua, Minister, and Susan Nakumincha, Minister, are greenhorns in serving the executive, never having found their way into this Parliament. They might not be knowing the import of these issues. Mr. Speaker, the catchword is Parliament, not Senate or National Assembly. I therefore request you to liaise with your counterpart in the National Assembly so that Parliament takes a position that any minister who does not honor an invitation will lose the opportunity of business from their ministries being processed in Parliament until such a time that they convince us that they are apologetic. There are so many Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, who are dying to serve this country as ministers. If people want to have joyriders, Let them have those gay riders outside Parliament, outside the executive. The country requires to be pushed so that we can deliver where we are. We cannot do it when we have people who take trips as a priority to transacting government business. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kavendu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Naomba niende on record na wenzangu kuhusu hii tabia ya CSs. Bwana Speaker, hata kwa committees tuko na challenges kubwa sana. Kuna CS wa Treasury, tumemuita amekosa kuja kwa committee 5 times. Na kila wakati anasema ana shughuli. Hiyo shughuli yako nayo kubwa kuliko kuserve wananchi wa Kenya ni gani? Na sasa nilikuwa nafikiri ni kwa committees tu peke yake. Sasa hata mbele yako Bwana Speaker wanaleta tu huu mzaa. Hii iwe ni funzo kwa wale wengine. Hawa wachukuliwa hatua kali kabisa, na CSs wajue wana jukumu ya kuja na kujibu maswali ya mambo ya wananchi. Kwa sababu Bwana Speaker, kama wewe tunamuita kwa sababu ya retired teachers who have not even wale ambao hawajapata benefits zao. Bwana Speaker, tunakuomba chukua hatua kali pamoja na secretariat ya Senate hii, ndio iwe funzo na wajue kwamba hatuchezi kuja kukaa hapa. Hata sisi hii ni kazi kama hiyo yao pia, na wanastahili kutupa heshima kama vile wanapatiwa heshima kule wako. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Tabitha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise to support my leaders led by the ML in this shameful, very shameful contact by our ministers. The President has clearly stated in this country that the ministers should appear before Parliament. These ministers should know that they're not appearing before us as individuals. They are appearing before us because our key and first mandate in this country is what we call representation. We are the representatives of the people in this country. And when a whole minister who has an office that knows very well that he should be able to appear before Parliament and makes us a feedback that they are just not able to appear within not the required time, it is disrespectful. Not only to these members, but to the President of this country, who supported and said that they should appear before this House. A disrespect to you, Mr. Speaker, equal to us as members. This is not something that we want to allow moving forward. The Minister for Health, Susan, has also not equally been appearing to the Health Committee in the Senate. Then who is she in this country if she cannot appear before Parliament? We need answers, because the first question that when she'll appear will be, why don't you appear before Parliament? We need to know if in that job description that she signed stated that it will be in her choice either to appear or not to appear. We need to understand the job description of these ministers. Is it in their clause? Then hence they behave the way they want to behave. We have matters we needed to ask. We have business we needed to conduct. We are here because of the representation that we do for this country. And if they are not going to be able to execute their mandate, they need to tell Kenyans, we are not in a position, because appearing in Parliament is one of their responsibilities. If that cannot be achieved, that we need answers to be able to give other Kenyans the opportunities to serve people in this country. You know the matters of health, how sensitive they are in this country. And the whole minister decides. It is wrong, Mr. Speaker. We cannot move forward like this. This is a day, a Wednesday day, we set for this Senate to abandon our committee sessions, to be able to sit with the ministers. We have a manifesto as Kenya Kwanza, to be able to achieve the plans that we set during our campaign period. We can only achieve when us, the representatives, sit with the executive, be able to question on the matters that need to be addressed. And then today somebody decides that they're not going to do that. Total disrespect. Total disrespect. Moving forward, Mr. Speaker, we need better than this. It is what it is, and we need better results. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Margaret Kamar.
Mr. Speaker, mine will be